Hey everybody, and welcome to Everything is Fine, Nothing is Ruined. I'm your host, Hassan. Joining me, as always, Tristan.
Hey! That's me.
And folks, today, our topic, we're here to talk to you about the number one cartoon about a family.
Yeah.
That's right. It's a Yabba Dabba Doo, folks, because it's the Flintstones. Meet the Flintstones. They're the modern Stone Age family. From the town of Bedrock, they're a page right out of history.
Yeah.
That's right, folks. We're finally talking about the Flintstones.
Hell
Tristan's
yeah.
been rewatching it all, so tell us all about it.
Oh shit, it's my topic, isn't it?
Yeah, no, you said we were talking about the number one family-focused cartoon.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
That would be the Flintstones, right?
No, that only ran for like 60-some episodes, I believe. So.
So is this like a Meet George Jetson? His son Elroy, daughter Judy,
Jane, his
the
wife.
Yeah. Okay, sorry, I should guess it's the Jetsons, of course.
No, it's not that. It's not the Jetsons. Jetsons are a lot of fun, but no.
It's
George Jetson works for 2 hours a day, by the way. Isn't that great?
Okay, is it like Proud Family, is that what we're
The
talking
Proud
about?
Family?
Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah, Proud Family is pretty good. But not talking
Okay,
about
so
though.
that's
no.
Okay, can I get a hint? Like, what? Are there any unique features about the family that would give it away to me?
Well, it's a show on Fox, or it was on Fox.
We're not doing Family Guy, are we?
No, Lord, no, God, no.
Okay,
I have taste, Hassan.
Give me a better clue then.
Okay. There's a couch gag in the opening.
That's a lot. There's a lot of couch. Like, what? Is there something descriptive about the family that will help?
Well, I don't want to give it all away, but like, okay, there are 5 members of the family, and one of them has tall hair.
Wait, is it American Dad? And you're talking about Roger wearing a wig?
I guess it could be.
No.
I guess it could be actually.
Okay, great.
Awful, but
So
I'm not.
okay,
No. Again, I have taste.
Any other clues here?
Okay, they're all yellow.
Oh my! Wow. I didn't think you liked the show, so I just wasn't ever gonna go. This is my bad. I'm so glad we're finally doing an episode on Roly Poly Oly. I've been a big fan of that show. What's that face?
What? No, it's not about Roly Poly Oly. Where did you get?
You said they're yellow skinned. What other cartoons about a family?
Yes.
Features a group of yellow skinned individuals than Roly Poly Oly.
I don't know how to tell you this, man, but like, there's a very specific one out there that features yellow skin. Like, it's the longest running like sitcom of all time at this point. Do you not know what this show is?
I mean, I feel like I've run out of popular family-focused cartoons.
Huh? Yeah? Theme song. Yeah.
Nah, not. Is this like some sort of a critical hit thing, but it's not really that popular situation?
No, not like that. No, okay. Okay. Hassan. There's a meme about a guy who comes into and out of a bush. Have you seen that meme?
George W. Bush? Is that what we're talking about?
Nope. I call the big one Bitey. Eat my shorts.
Sharkeen from Geki Ranger.
No, eat my shorts.
That's disgusting. Why would I eat? Ew.
Don't have a cow man?
Filthy. I feel like you're just making things up and saying random phrases at
When
this
the
point.
jazz man testifies, bring you to your knees. No? No. Really?
You're sure that this is a popular show? People are gonna know.
I'm pretty sure people know this show, Hassan.
What's this? What's it? I mean, I've clearly got no idea. What's the name of this?
It's The Simpsons. The Simpsons.
The Simpsons.
The Simpsons.
Oh, The Simpsons.
It's right here. The title. Look at this. It's right there in the title card.
No, I can't say I've ever heard. And you're saying that this is a popular show?
Yeah. Pretty much everybody the world around knows The Simpsons.
You know, I just don't think that's the case. I've personally never heard of this.
What's wrong with you? I just don't know what's wrong with you.
I mean, you know, at best they're the number 2 cartoon for a family of yellow folk after Roly Poly Oly.
I don't know who you are. I don't know what you are doing or who replaced you with this space alien, but you have to know what the Simpsons are. You have to.
Over Roly Poly Oly? I don't think so.
Well, you're about to know. So,
All right.
Hassan, welcome to the Great Simpsons Rewatch, seasons 1 and 2. I'm making good in this promise that I did in the Halloween episode. That yes, I am rewatching all of it. I almost rolled season 3 into this episode because like season 1's pretty short, but you know,
How short?
half the episodes.
What was that? Like 13 episodes then?
13 episodes, yeah. Instead of like 22, 23. Yeah.
It's a surprise that something back then would have been shorter. You know, that is
Yeah.
the heights of terrestrial TV, as it would have been known, where
Yeah.
like short seasons were kind of not a thing.
Not really. This is more of a half season, though. That's why it is so short, because
Okay.
I believe it started airing in like January. I may be wrong about that, but I'm not too sure. Or not January, but maybe it started airing in like August or something like that. It doesn't really matter too much, but like yeah, it kind of wrapped up at a point where you know, they only had so many episodes. It was also the pilot season, so yeah, they didn't want to like put too much out there. Like they are just coming off the Tracy Ullman show, doing this cartoon, and now this is like making its own big debut for them. And I think this is just kind of like going to test with the audience to see where they could go with it and if it was going to be a viable product. Because The Simpsons, like beyond the Flintstones and the Jetsons and that kind of stuff, Hanna-Barbera, The Simpsons is pretty much the first family-oriented cartoon drama comedy that is actually geared towards adults. So, yeah, it's a unique take at the time. Back in 1989 when this first aired. So, I have gone through every episode of these 2 seasons, and I have scored them. I have a total score. And here's how this is going to work. So, couple of rules, basically. I'm going to watch all the episodes. Every one of them. I'm even rewatching Crepes of Horrors because I didn't score them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Because I didn't score them from them I did the
Bet you
episode.
regret that now, don't you?
A little bit, because there's a large chunk between like seasons 11 and 31, where the Trees of Horrors all really fucking suck. So,
Too bad. Gotta watch them again.
Gotta watch them again. Thankfully, season 1 does not have a Trees of Horrors because it starts in season 2. But so that's yes. Rule number 1, I'm watching all of it. I may or may not include the Simpsons movie I've been kind of back and forth on that. The movie is its own thing, but I might do it anyway because I don't think anybody really talks about that movie anymore. But that did some shit. Yeah, it's a pretty good movie.
Like, for like that thing. When year was that? That was like
2009,
2009, right? So like for something where The Simpsons was, close to 20 years in, you're like, this is gonna suck, and it didn't. At the time, that was impressive.
2007.
Okay, yeah. So good. Still like 16, 17 years in.
Yeah, exactly.
And at that point, most people agreed Simpsons on the decline. Like, it's surprising that thing was good.
Yeah, exactly. And then rule number 2, I am watching these at regular speed so I can actually watch them and actually take notes and stuff if I need to. Luckily, these episodes are pretty much seared in my brain, at least for the first 7 or 8 seasons. So, not a lot of notes needed. And rule number 3 is that I pretty much have to score each one of them out of 10, and there's no take backsies. So if I think something's great, it's great. If I think something sucks, it sucks. This is also very objective. Yada yada yada. All right. With that said, season 1 of The Simpsons is harsh. Do you want to guess what I scored it, Hassan?
Is this out of 10?
It's out of 10. And this is the average score.
Like if it was me personally,
yeah,
it'd be very low. Like it would be like a 3 or something. Because in my mind, it's pretty. I don't want to say poor quality animation, but clearly cheap.
It suffered from that.
I know that some people don't like the more
squiggly.
Yeah, I was gonna say scratchy, but the squiggly art style.
Scratchy.
That's not so much what upsets me as it's just the movement of the characters. You can just tell there's just not as much money going into it, so the animation isn't as smooth, and that the voice acting, they're still figuring out the voice of the character. It's also, in my mind, a little bit more depressing. I was going to say darker, but just more depressing, the tone of it. Homer's alcoholism isn't quite as cartoony.
No,
him being kind of a bad father and husband is just more depressing than the seasons. So for me, I would say it's a 3. I think you'll be a little kinder. It's probably a 5.
5, okay. I was actually a little kinder, but actually a lot more kinder than that. So I gave it a 6.7.
Well, 6.07. Point system. I get. Well,
it's averages.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. So 6 overall. That's the thing. Also, the point system allows me to, the decimal points allows me to actually pinpoint when a season is actually much better than a previous season or so, or a future season.
Sure.
Because you get real close. Maybe season 5 and season 6 are both let's say they're both 9s. But then how much of a 9 is the other one? I want to scientifically determine this. As scientific as I can get watching The Simpsons. 6.07. So here's what we're going to do.
Sorry, 6.07?
6.07, yes.
Okay. Yeah. I heard 6.7, so...
Oh, sorry. 6.07.
Okay. That's at least a little bit more. I was like, 6.7 is pretty high.
Pretty high.
Okay, 6.07, yeah. So 6.
Also, this one is a little skewed because, again, this is the first season with only 13 episodes. Here's what we're going to do, though. I'm going to give you the best and the worst episode and discuss those two. And then, Hassan, you can pick one out of any of them. Do you have a list of the Simpsons episodes up?
Let me pull them up.
Yeah. Well, while you're doing that, I'm going to go with let's say the best episode first. It is a bit of a tie. between Krusty Gets Busted and Crepes of Wrath. Which one would you prefer to hear about?
This is best, you said?
Yes, this is best.
Cool. I'm going to say Crepes of Wrath, because
Okay.
I have no idea what that episode is. I can't... Based off the title, I should say. I probably know it, but hearing it...
I think you actually might know this one more than you think you do. Because this is the one where Bart gets transferred to France.
Vaguely remember it. Okay.
Vaguely? Okay.
Right.
Yeah, so this is the one where basically, as part of a foreign exchange program to, get Bart off the backs of Springfield, he is transferred to a school, or to a family in France, and the Simpsons take in a family, well, a kid from Albania.
Okay.
Yeah, Albania being a...
Sure, they very accurately depict Albania.
Well, I mean, they use actual Albanian in the episode, so...
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Surprise.
Yeah. But, yeah, it is a communist state, and this is 1989, and the show was, of course, made in, 87, 88, so, Yeah, Albania, known for its spy network. Huzzah. So, yeah, in the episode, they take on a kid from Albania. Turns out that kid is actually a spy for Albania and the Communist Party, and sending details about the Springfield power plant back to Albanian government officials, and there's a whole hubbub there. That's the B plot. A plot is that Bart, of course, is transferred to France to go and live at I think it's Chateau Bordeaux, specifically, which is on the front of a wine bottle. But unfortunately, this Chateau Bordeaux is a rundown piece of shit wine. Well, I would normally say a vineyard, but this is more of a wine factory run by two guys and a donkey. And they treat Bart like crap. Absolute crap. And this is the one where basically they find, this is the one where basically Bart busts them by eventually learning French, speaking to a police officer, and telling them that they put antifreeze in the wine, and all that stuff. It's a good episode about kind of knowing your place and trying to figure out how you fit into things, and also about people putting antifreeze in the wine. So it's got some good jokes. It's like I said, this is the best one of season 1. This episode scored an 8 out of 10. Okay. For me. The other one was Krusty Gets Busted, also an 8 out of 10, but that's a more difficult 8 out of 10. That's the one, that's the beginnings of Sideshow Bob.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's hear about the worst one.
The worst one. So there's also a tie. However, I think there's one that I personally think is objectively worse. And I want to say it's Some Enchanted Evening, which is actually the pilot episode, which was aired actually at the end of the season. And that one has the roughest animation. It's all screwed up looking. If you look at old clips of it, it is fucking bad looking.
Yeah, that's weird that the final episode was the pilot episode.
It's because it aired all out of order, and technically speaking, because of the airing times, that kind of stuff. The first episode was Simpsons roasting on an open fire, which was at the Christmas episode where they get the dog, Santa's Little Helper. So, but yeah, I don't think that Some Enchanted Evening is actually that bad. It's forgivable once you know it's the pilot episode. It suffers really badly for bad animation, and it suffers really badly from the weird overwrought sound effects, the very cartoony, stepping and that kind of stuff, which is gross.
No, that's not what you want out of The Simpsons at all.
But it's not as bad as There's No Disgrace Like Home. This episode suffers from a little thing that I could call being boring. And also, some extremely nasty depictions of like psychology and psychiatry, in which they this is the one where the Simpsons go to like a family therapist, and he has them like use like foam bats on each other, as well as like he puts them under shock therapy, and it's just not funny.
Yeah, this is kind of what I was talking about, where this early season is just more depressing.
It really is.
Like, the Simpsons as a family, it has tender moments, but it's like 2% of the episode, and the other 98%, you're just like, maybe this family shouldn't be together.
Yeah, exactly. And this is even saying that this is the most depressing season. Is compared by the fact that like this is the episode. This is the season when it has Moaning Lisa, which is the episode.
It's actually the random one I wanted to talk about, because
okay.
feel like Moaning Lisa.
We'll get there. Yeah,
is probably the most important one looking at this list to me.
Yes,
and
I would
maybe
say
the most iconic one.
Yeah, this is this is the original episode that gives us Bleeding Gums Murphy, and you know, this is where she has like the really good like blues jazz song. You know, I got this bratty brother, he bugs me every day, and this morning my own mother gave my last cupcake away. So it's like, yeah, it's a good little blues song, and it's like the beginning of like the Simpsons being musical, which is good.
Yeah, I think for me that one in particular stands out because occasionally I will see internet debates, if you want to call it that, discussions, popping up where people will talk about whether or not Homer is a good / supportive father.
Yeah.
And kind of one of the things that often gets pointed to is his both poor treatment of Lisa, not not appreciating her gifts, her talents, hey, I want to be vegan, and him just being like, you're a weirdo for that, right? Like,
you don't make friends with salad.
Dismissive towards, just very dismissive, very like, you could see how like 20 years later a kid would like reflect back on that and be like, this is why I don't talk to my dad anymore. But then like pointing towards things of like, well, and I forget what it was, but in whatever season when she gets her saxophone, it's like Homer gave up something he wanted instead and spent that money on that for her.
It's a later season, yeah.
It's kind of one of the things I'll be interested in with you, like binging these, is when we start getting into like, some of those later seasons, especially the not quite as good ones, and I'm just throwing out like random numbers, but sort of like a season 23 or 24 or something. If by binging it, you'll just be like, wow, it sucks to have like seen this constant up and down with Homer of like, no, he's going out of his way to defend his daughter and, be supportive of this thing she's doing. And like, that was last season. And now this season, we're just back to like, oh, Lisa cares about this, global warming thing, and Homer just being like, Lisa, my idiot daughter, weirdo.
Yeah, exactly.
And so like Moaning Lisa is this really good episode of, Marge being there and telling her, just, when I said you should smile, no, that is patriarchy nonsense. Be yourself. And if other people don't like you, that doesn't matter as long as you're happy with who you are. It's like, yes, this is actually one of the few episodes, even though 98% of it is depressing, I would point to as this is actually a good one I like from this season.
It's very uplifting, actually, yeah.
But then knowing that, like, 30 seasons later, we're still just going to repeat these exact cycles.
A little bit.
Depressing that they can't actually evolve and break out of this.
No, I know. Well, I mean, like, in a way, it kind of can. So I will point out, the more early the season, the more it is a family comedy. That's the one thing I got to point out. Going like moving out of season 1. Well, we're already still here a little bit, but anyway. In season 1, it's more of a family comedy. It's pretty much more of a family comedy in season 2 and 3 and 4 as well. So like that's the thing. Like this is a family comedy about a family, and we haven't really hit the absurdist territory that The Simpsons does eventually get to. Like that is one of the things.
Thought about it that it's not often that there are episodes involving the entire family throughout it. Like we were talking about the Lisa vegan, you don't make friends with salad.
Yeah.
Marge and Bart are there, but they're not really a part of everything that's happening in that episode. It's just, Homer and Lisa. Yeah. And now thinking about a lot of the episodes, it is that case of like they kind of split them off into, different groups, and rarely is it the entire family is the part of what's happening and such.
Not always, that's the thing. There are plenty of ones where there are, like even later on, more about the entire family. But for the most part in season 1 and 2, it's about the entirety of that family. They do have A and B plots with like, this part of the family is doing this and this part of the family is doing that. But they do cross over at some point, and like, Bart is doing this and Lisa's doing this and all that stuff. And Moaning Lisa is actually a great example of that. Of it being more like a cohesive about this family kind of show. Because this one pretty much solidly focuses on Lisa and her plight as opposed to anybody else in the episode. We talk a little bit about Marge, because like that's something that does come up, is that you mentioned this, like her whole, as a kid she was told just to smile through it, don't worry about it, and you'll get through fine. But like she's seeing her daughter go through this horrible bout of depression, and she can't stand it anymore, and she tells her to smile, and she sees this, and she sees her daughter get like bullied into being a doormat. And then she like does a crazy J turn, hauls Lisa into the car, drives away, and it's like, if you want to be sad, you be sad. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. I'll be sad for you. If I'll do all the smiling and all the stuff for you, if you just want to be sad, it's fine. I'll do it. Like, you just be you. And that's like, I think Moaning Lisa is a great depiction, mostly of like this, how cohesive this family is. But in reality, I think it is probably the best depiction of Lisa as a character, because we get a lot of her characterization there, and it is the initial depiction of Marge and what she is doing in this show, which is being the greatest mom she possibly can be. Making mistakes, of course, but like
I would say like trying to be the best mom possible.
Exactly,
But so, I think it is a good. It's something that, in parenting, it's difficult, I think, in media to have characters, as a parent, say something that just seems totally innocuous, right? So her just saying like, oh, don't worry, sweetie, just smile.
Just smile through it.
Because you know, if you did not see things from Lisa's perspective, you just got it from Marge's. You get, it seems like Marge totally said the right thing.
Seems it, yes.
And that, like, parents mess up all the time. Parents give bad advice. They think they're being supportive, and actually they're not, because they're maybe not getting the context they need or fully aware. They blah blah blah.
Yeah,
it's just that's something it's difficult in media to portray, and this episode handles that so deftly. Of Marge isn't doing anything wrong when she's telling Lisa to just smile. It's not until she gets this further understanding of things and realizing like, oh, I was trying to be a good parent, but actually I was failing there, and here's what I need to actually do. Yeah,
exactly. That's the thing. Like, I think that, because I'll it highlights the best point of anything in life, which is all we know is our own experiences. And this is what Marge experienced from her family, saying, just smile through it, sweetie, you'll be fine. And then when she realizes, oh, that was actually extremely harmful advice and turned me into a bit of a crazy person. No, don't do that. We'll figure something else out. So, like, you know, this is Marge, like I said, trying to be as good of a parent as she possibly can. And I think that, like, yeah, what we're seeing here is the thesis statement of what makes Marge Simpson Marge Simpson. Because everybody complains about Marge Simpson because she doesn't really have a whole lot of things to do. And eventually the writers take that to heart and they make her do a lot more things. She becomes a cop. She becomes all these other things in the show. And this is like hard evidence that she's a good parent. I think that's the main thing. Can you make a show just about that? No, so of course you need to do more things, but, you know. With that said, there was, in the same season, there is actually 2 episodes where they almost, like, ruin the entire family. Like, Homer's Night Out is the one where Homer dances with, like, Princess Jasmine, the stripper. And she, Marge, like, throws him out of the house, and they almost break up because of that. And there's also Life on the Fast Lane, which is where she kind of falls in love with, like, her bowling instructor.
Oh, yep.
Yeah. And, like, she's, like, about to cheat on Homer with him. Like, it's just right there. Literally, like, needs to go on the right road to go and have sex with this guy, but turns around and goes back to the power plant instead to then, you know, be with Homer. Like, so, you know, we're hammering some things out in season 1. Not everything is perfect. Yeah. Life in the Fast Lane got a 5, and Homer's Night Out got a 7. FYI. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So moving on, season 2.
Season 2, baby. So, want to guess what I gave this season as a total depiction? Like I said, point system. So this one places
6.07.
Yeah. This one has more episodes,
Yeah.
which could skew it lower.
No, I think it's going to be substantially higher. I'm going to guess it's like 8.2.
Ooh, nah.
Really?
6.63.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's way lower than I would have guessed. Okay.
We're still figuring things out.
I want to hear what the worst is. That's surprising how low it is. So I want to hear, like, what's the worst and was so bad about this season.
All right, so we're still figuring some stuff out because there are more episodes. So let's just say this. Season 1 is an anomaly because there are only 13 episodes. It does mean the numbers there actually skew higher. And in comparison, later seasons will skew a little lower. Even though there are higher numbers in this season, I have to divide by 22 versus 13. So it changes the math a little bit.
Sure.
So the lowest rated episode is episode 17, Old Money. Do you know this one at all? I gave it a 4 out of 10.
Like, off the top of my head, no. I'm literally looking at it.
I kind of forgot about it too until I saw like one specific clip.
Like, I'm vaguely remembering it, reading the plot summary, but it's definitely not one that is, burned into my memory or anything.
Okay, because I forgot about this one except for one specific line, which is Discount Lion Safari.
Pretty good one.
Yeah, it's a good one.
It's like, oh man, animation is better. Still,
better. Season 2 is tighter, a lot tighter. Oh
yeah, it still looks a little bit.
Yeah, a little wonky.
Just not. Yeah,
not quite
as well funded as later.
Yeah, so I will point out that I should have said this in season 1. Season 1 has a lot of front-facing Simpsons, and that's weird looking.
part of why I think
Yeah.
it's just bad animation, right?
Season 2 has a few of these moments where they have more front-facing Simpsons character, but not as many as Season 1. So there. So Old Money, episode 17, Old Money, is about Abe Simpson. I like Abe Simpson. He is a better side character than anything. And him getting his own episode is fine, but I don't know if he really carries it that well. This is essentially Abe Simpson. He's kind of sort of fed up with going to, his family's place, the Simpsons, to Homer and Marge's and that kind of stuff, to be with them every one Sunday every month. And he's getting a little fed up with it because they don't do anything interesting. The kids drive him crazy. He's a little bored. He lives in the Springfield retirement castle, that kind of stuff. And this is where he meets a later love in his life. I can't remember her name.
Just a sec. I will grab that for you.
Thank you.
B or Bia? I'm not sure how they would pronounce it.
Yeah,
B.
it's B.
Okay.
So
I know some people pronounce it Bia like lunatics, but
who does that? Anyway, it's B. So essentially, he falls in love with her, and they have a month together, living in the same place, and being lovebirds, and enjoying their retirement together. And he's about to go on a real good date with B, and kind of solidify their relationship a bit, all this stuff. And that's when Homer and his family grab him to go to the Discount Lion Safari, which is just supposed to be an afternoon out, but they take a wrong turn and get trapped with a bunch of lions for a day straight. And then they bring Abe back to the retirement home, and that's when he realizes that B has died overnight.
Yeah, boy. Now you talking about this episode, I'm sitting here and kind of remembering it and going,
"Yeah,
man,
yeah,
they really."
Mm-hmm.
You were saying Abe's a fine side character, and I agree
no problem
with that. He's a but what I was going to say is overall he is a character who they could delve into him more and
sure.
peel back those layers and get into him as I don't want to say abusive parent, but he's
pretty abusive, actually, yeah. Well, in season 1, they have Bart the General, where he actually teaches Bart how to, essentially fight a guy.
Yeah, the thing is, I think, it being the earlier seasons, him being a parent in the 50s, I think a lot of his attitude and the way he raised Homer wouldn't have been considered abusive there. A lot
not in the 60s, no, yeah.
Well, your mom's gone, too bad. You got to be a man now. No crying over her, that kind of thing. Today we would consider that as mentally abusive. Yeah. I think then that would just be viewed as tough parenting,
tough love.
Just that's what the man of the house does.
Exactly.
They never really fully go there, but talking about this stuff is man, his family forced him away from this woman that he loves. She dies. And they kind of just don't go into the actual emotions of what that would then be like with his actual family. He's just I hate you, and then gets over it real quick. And it's fair that this would be the worst episode of the season.
Yeah, he doesn't get over it that quickly. I do have to point out, even though this is the worst episode of the season, it got a 4 out of 10, which is pretty low. But there is still a little bit in this where the relationship between Abe and Homer is still a interesting one, because you get to kind of see what makes each one of those, what makes them work as father and son. And the answer is they actually really don't. They are kind of bad for each other, but that's kind of how a lot of parents are towards their kids. So our parents fucked us up, and this is no exception. So in this episode, B dies, and she leaves Abe a ton of money. like hundreds of thousands of dollars in her will. She had nobody else. Here you go, Abe. Use it and make life better for yourself and for your people you love. Basically is what she said. Like, do with it what you will. So he goes and starts buying things and trying to feel something. And then, like, she appears to him as a ghost and is just like, what are you doing? You know, why not, like, give something to your family or, like, use it in a way that's going to help people? And he's like, oh, yeah, that's a great idea. So he sets up a, like, I can't remember. He sets up like a meeting with like the rest of the town of Springfield to come to him one by one to ask for the money for their specific projects, and they're all terrible. I like that Montgomery Burns actually comes and asks for the money, like begs for that like $200,000 or whatever, and it's just like, you have millions.
Well, yeah, but that's how you get millions.
Exactly, yeah, he does state that. Like, you know, I didn't get my millions besides, you know, without having to, like, you know, make sure that somebody who only has 100,000 gives me that as well, you know. And then in the end, he actually starts just gambling it, and then wins big, doubles his money, and then uses it all to essentially rebuild, like totally renovate the retirement home, and make it like an actually nice place to live. So, you know, there is a good message there because it does end up giving back to the community, which is why it gets a 4 out of 10 instead of like a 3 or a 2. You know, it's still not good. It's not very funny, besides the discount line safari thing, and it's kind of a whatever episode. But, you know, there's something okay there, in my opinion.
Sure. So let's hear the best episode.
Okay. This is a toss-up between 2 episodes. Now, I want to say what the actual one is in a bit, because the one that I don't think is the best episode, but is so very close, so extremely close, is Lisa's Substitute.
Okay, yeah, I agree. That's a good episode. A little bit overblown, personally.
Yeah, I gave that episode a 9 out of 10.
Let's hear about the actual best one then.
Okay, this is the first, in my opinion, the first iconic episode of The Simpsons, and is also the first time they dipped their toes into absurdism.
Okay. Is it 2 cars in every garage and 3 eyes on every fish?
No, that one's good. That got Nate. That's a good episode.
I don't know. Which one is it?
Bart the Daredevil.
This is...
He's going to jump the Springfield Gorge, baby.
The gorge. Yeah, okay. Okay, yep, sure.
Yeah. So, this one's great just because, like, okay, so first off, the pacing is wonderful. The jokes are on point, and they don't waste a moment of, like, getting to what they need to do. And, like, but here's the beautiful thing. Because they have so much to say in this episode, the main joke, the biggest laugh of the entire thing, runs over the credits of the show, of the episode. And that joke is basically, you know, Homer jumps the gorge, fails, falls into the gorge, and almost dies. And, you know, they helicopter him out of there, wrapped in bandages, and like smack him against the wall a bunch of times. And then they put him into the ambulance to be driven off to the Springfield Hospital, immediately crash into a tree 2 feet away, and he goes back into the gorge. Which is just an amazing joke. And then, like, this runs over the credits. And because, like, just the fact that they kept this style of joke going, like, this is the proto joke for every other Fox Family comedy sitcom.
Yeah, it's
like,
fair.
And think about this. If this joke had not have existed, we would not have the Family Guy TV show as it is today. Which, you know, give or take that, but like the overly long running gag that repeats itself, that is Family Guy's shtick. The Simpsons did this first.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I'm trying to... What are Marge and like Lisa and the rest of the family? Are they in this episode? Because I'm definitely... I can remember the gore stuff of that. But I'm trying to remember, like, what's happening with the rest of the family during this?
So Lisa's the entire way through. Lisa is trying to stop Bart from being a fucking daredevil.
Okay, yes, because, right. She's beside him like the entire time. Basically, with like, this is a bad idea. You're gonna hurt yourself.
And Marge is kind of not in this episode a whole lot. She does have this long talk with Bart to be like, stop doing daredevil stunts, and like, don't go into the gorge. Don't do these things. But it is mostly Homer that tries to stop him. Like, he's the one that makes the promise with Bart to be like, hey, don't go in the gorge. You got to promise me that. And then Bart breaks that promise. Yeah, this has, like, just some of the most wonderful things in this episode. Truckosaurus is in this episode. There's this amazing, like, this like, really good joke because they wanted to get to the Truckosaurus showing at the tractor pull and the monster truck rally. But it's just after Lisa's recital, and it's the joke where like, oh, this is like this like long running symphony, but it's unfinished, and Homer's like, well, that'll take like 2 minutes, don't worry about that. But it's like 2 hours long. And like he's in such a rush, he grabs Lisa during like during the ending, during the bow. He like grabs her before she can bow, and then puts her back up to bow once. Brings her back. There's some really good little jokes there that I think just make this episode extremely good and leads up to the final thing, which is the gorge happening, and just like, yeah, like the pacing, the escalation, the payoff. This is damn near a perfect episode of The Simpsons, at least in season 2 quality.
Okay, all right. And then for my like random one, to me, it's one of the like classics of this season. One fish, two fish, blowfish, bluefish.
Yeah, okay.
The one where
I'm glad
Homer thinks he has eaten deadly fugu and is going to die.
I'm glad you chose this one. I was going to talk about it anyway, but this is the first thing in my life as a person, as a kid, that made me question death and made me a little terrified of it at the time. I'm less so these days, but like, because this is a TV show where this cartoon character is worried they are going to die within 24 hours. Technically 22 hours because he spent some time sleeping and there's an oversleeping thing and all this stuff. So he has like just a certain amount of time to try and like get his life in order before he goes, make a video for Maggie, hang out with his dad, going fishing with him, get a drink with Moe's, that kind of stuff. He gets tossed into jail instead and all these things. And it ends with like him sleeping in that chair, listening to a book on tape and just wondering like, is this it? Is this where I go? This kind of stuff. And he falls asleep and, he, of course he lives. But I remember this episode as a kid watching it. I was absolutely mollified for like months on end, if not maybe years. Like, this episode kind of fucked me up a little bit, and gave me a weird depiction of death, thinking that like at any second I could just drop dead.
Oh boy, this is probably a bad time to tell you that I planted some fugu in your dinner last night. So
that's why it tasted
fishy.
You
are going to drop dead any moment.
Was it the badly cut fugu?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't notice.
Yeah, you wouldn't.
Oh, well, it did taste kind of fishy, so I didn't actually eat it, so I gave it all to Karen, actually.
Oh.
Yeah, my partner.
Now you've got blood on your hands. Way to go.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, you just got to get her to a hospital.
No,
after this.
The thing that makes this episode work is that it portrays it seriously.
Yeah, it does.
You as the viewer, first time you're watching that, and for me, this is 1990. I was too young to be watching The Simpsons, so
Same, actually.
I definitely knew that he wouldn't die.
Yeah, I mean,
it does take it so seriously and makes it so plausible that no, he's gonna die. It's a good episode. Just Homer, his last night, just while the family is sleeping, and him just saying his last messages to them. Man, this is it's rough.
Yeah, it's a hard one to watch. This one, it's a good watch. It's difficult, especially near the end, because it gets really emotional. And I don't know. It like I said, this is the one that kind of fucked me up for like a long, long time in my life, and I sort of appreciate it for it in a weird way. Like, I'm glad that it did, because now I have a much more open and interesting depiction of death. And in this episode, I owe a lot to, in a weird sense. So, like, this episode is only an 8 out of 10 for me, which is still pretty high, which is good. But it's still a well paced and it's got some good jokes. But that doesn't matter because the ending hits like a truck, and it's just like the fact that Homer gets to live another day, and he got to spend all this time with the people he loved, and his life is like just regular for the rest of that day. He has all these fantastical things he wants to try and do, but he doesn't get to do any of them. But instead, the important things that he ends up doing are like being with his friends and family, and yeah, like the fact that that's the stuff he gets to do, and not like skydiving or whatever, or telling off his boss or all these things. It's just like, yeah, that's it. Like that's the important stuff before you go. I think actually he does get to tell of his boss technically during a drive-by telling off of Mr. Burns, but like whatever. It's not quite.
Have we ever actually seen Homer's actual boss?
Mr. Burns?
Well, but that wouldn't be his boss.
Oh, you mean like
his CEO?
Yeah, his supervisor.
Have we ever actually seen a supervisor?
We have.
Okay, we have.
We have. So in season 1 in Homer's Night Out. So there are two things that happen at the very beginning. He goes to a party, and he talks about this like, oh, it's the birthday party for this guy. I can't remember his name. I think it was like Carl or something like that, but not the Carl that you know, like Lenny and Carl. A different Carl, because again, we're just getting stuff straightened in order here. Like for this guy who he doesn't like, but it's a birthday party. We're gonna go do these things, blah 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 blah. And then it's like 1 month later, and he's like, now I'm gonna go to like this guy's wedding as well. And Marge's like, oh, you mean your fun little coworker Carl? He's like, no, my supervisor Carl.
Okay.
Yeah. So that is technically his boss, at least for a little bit. Okay. And there are other times where we do see the person who's just above Homer. In season 2? Season 2? No, I think it's season 1. Hold on.
Yeah, I never really thought about it. Of the show always portrays Mr. Burns as if he's his boss, but he's a CEO. Homer's not going to directly report into him.
No, well, he does, but he shouldn't be, but he does.
Sure, for the sake of the cartoon.
Yeah, in season 1, episode 3, which is actually where season 1, episode 3 is Homer's Odyssey. That's also a very interesting depiction of death. This is the one where Homer basically goes to kill himself because he loses his job. He finds himself to be a giant loser, and he just can't do it anymore. He can't face it. So he goes to kill himself, but like he realizes he's actually really good at like safety protocols. Well, at least for this episode anyway. And this is how he becomes the safety inspector of the Springfield power plant. But in this episode, he gets fired by a guy who is his boss, who is also Sherry and Terry's father.
Oh.
Despite being like so Sherry and Terry are like alabaster skin with like purple hair, and this guy is just like a normal like yellow skin like redhead kind of guy. I'm like, where did the genes get crossed over? Like
yeah, so that is actually my last question that I have is these earlier seasons.
Yeah.
How sort of written by middle class white people who maybe don't necessarily have the broadest of experiences, does it feel? And The Simpsons, as it started, was always meant to be subversive and challenging. And we talked about the I've already forgotten the name of the episode, but the one about Lisa meeting like Bleeding Gums Murphy and kind
Moaning
of this
Lisa,
idea of Moaning Lisa, challenging the patriarchy. But The Simpsons certainly has had issues with portrayal.
Yes,
so people obviously have poo, but thanks to a eye patch wolf learning that, hey, in later seasons,
they replace
Carl.
No,
I was going to say Carl having an episode where it's about him kind of trying to figure out what being black
is Carl,
right? And like, what does being black in Springfield mean? This town that generally isn't very black. Like, yes, there are other black characters like Dr. Hibbert, but it is not a town that has much in the way of just middle class white suburbia culture is how I would put it.
It's got a fairly like broad Jewish culture there, but not a lot of black people, not a lot of Asian or otherwise, besides white people,
or like even you're not getting necessarily like even like regional white, right? Like, you wouldn't sit here and say, well, The Simpsons is Southern white or California white or even like flyover state white. It's not Montana or anything, right?
No,
so
like the best you can. The thing is with The Simpsons is that we've never really pinned down where Springfield is, so we're not really sure what demographic they actually are. I guess the answer is like whatever demographic matters to you the most, because they can either be from the Midwest, they can be from like the East Coast. There's a Springfield on the West Coast. There's one closer to Canada. It's anywhere basically.
Yeah.
So, it's wherever you want it to be, because like it's kind of like I feel like this show takes place in like a Vermont sort of area or Connecticut.
See, I would say I think it's supposed to be like a Maine or something. A New England area.
Well, that's kind of why I say Vermont.
But as an example of what I feel like a good amount of sort of 80s or 90s cartoons would have been like is, are there say any instances of, the Simpsons like that? I don't remember exactly how it goes, but like one fish, two fish, blowfish, bluefish.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of cartoons and a lot of shows at the time would have just been like this newfangled thing. Sushi, a character trying for the first time, or I've heard about it. I don't want to eat raw fish. Like today, you would never have that, right?
No,
it's so ubiquitous and a part of it, or even like spicy food, right? That's definitely something that you would not be shocked if in 1990 The Simpsons had an episode about Marge being like, I don't know about trying spicy food, and pepper's all I want.
I believe I can't remember if it's season 3 or season 4, but like in one of those two seasons, or maybe one later one, it's like the first time, like that's the chili cook-off, like it was around there.
That early, huh?
Yeah, I believe it's around there. It could be later, but I'm not sure. So like I think it's the first time anybody's really eaten spicy food in The Simpsons. And they say like the pepper is so very hot and all this stuff, and it's like it's probably in our standards today, it's probably only like a 90,000 to like 100,000 Scoville pepper, which is not that bad. It's worse than it's hotter than a jalapeno, of course, by a lot, but like it's like we have ingested as a people like millions of Scoville pepper before, and we're fine. But again, this is the 80s and 90s, especially the early 90s, where spicy food, not a thing. Not really.
Well,
it was.
For a lot of white suburbia, right? You go outside of it, and that just goes back to what I was saying. Like, if it was Texas, and The Simpsons were meant to be Texan, spicy would totally be a thing there.
Yeah, it says there's actually like a good like Cajun community in Texas, right? So
right, yeah, or just a lot of crossover with Mexico. But do these early like Simpsons, do they stand out as being that sort of what I can only describe as like Mormon white, or because they are from the outset, it is meant to be counterculture? Does it not suffer from that?
No, it definitely does suffer from that.
Okay,
because I think that here's the other thing. The Simpsons as a family all still go to church every Sunday.
Oh yeah, right.
Every Sunday.
Forgotten that used to be.
Yep.
Right.
Thing. Even as a kid, I went to church every Sunday as well, until I became like a teenager. I was like, I don't really jive with this as much. Great book and all, maybe not so much about the gathering in the church with the old people. And the person trying to teach me something about a thing that I don't necessarily care about. Yeah. So, as a teen, I kind of stopped doing that, but my mom still goes and stuff, and my grandparents still went, and all these things. So, white culture definitely is more about, going to church, especially at that time. It was just a normal, regular thing to do for everybody of, Caucasian ethnicity. So, when you have Springfieldians all going to church, with the exception of, obviously, Apu and, like...
Is Apu there in season 1 and 2?
Oh,
I forget when he shows up.
He's there the entire time, yep.
Okay.
Yeah, he never left. He never... He's right there in episode 1, I think, actually. So, yeah. Yeah, long-running character. So, yeah, like... when it comes down to it, we don't see... we don't see Apu go to church. It gets mentioned at some point what the Hindu religion is all about. Same with they discuss eventually Asian religion, but they don't get that even all that right, because that stuff was not really understandable to a lot of people back then. And the fact that a lot of Asian religion kind of crossed over with Christianity in some ways, and it's got weird. And then there's also the depiction of there's a later season, it's season 7, I think, where and this the wildest thing ever is that the main Springfield church that Ned Flanders belongs to, gotta point that out, he belongs to this church, is in direct competition with an Irish Catholic church, because an Irish Catholic priest comes and sets up an Irish Catholic parish in Springfield. And that gets the town in a tizzy. And then you have to go... What is the religion they're being taught in Springfield? Which is essentially puritanical Christianity. And so the Irish Catholic thing is seen as way too extremely Catholic and way more Bible thumping than whatever they're being taught over here, the Anglican, Presbyterian, whatever they're being taught over here in Springfield on a regular basis is not that, not Irish Catholic. My God, they're too extreme.
Yeah,
Says Ned Flanders.
I've forgotten that the early seasons had way more religious overtones.
Yeah, well,
undertones, really.
Yeah, they do and they don't. It's mostly so the religious undertones and overtones are mostly there to have Bart and Homer fuck with them real bad.
Yeah, right. It is subversive. It's just I had completely forgotten that. Yeah, right. They regularly would go to church, and there would just be a lot of that sort of a good Christian family wouldn't do this or act this way.
Yeah, exactly. There are plenty of episodes where I can't remember which episode this is specifically in, but there is one where Homer takes Bart's Walkman because he's going to sneak that into church, so he doesn't have to listen to the sermon. Takes his Walkman and uses that to listen to the football game. while he's there and yells out, "It's good," kind of stuff. But like in the same episode, like Bart is questioning like religion in general and is like asking about hell and all these things. And this is why back in the day, like this sounds tamed today. But back in the day, this kind of stuff was seen as extremely taboo.
Oh, yeah.
And was like, people were up in arms. In season 2, there's an episode called Itchy and Scratchy Emerge. And that is the depiction, a fictional depiction of the real life battle the writers and the producers and like everybody who worked in The Simpsons had to go to after season 1 came out. And people lambasted them for it. Like, people loved... Look, here's the thing. Season 1 of The Simpsons, people enjoyed it. But they got a hell of a lot more hate mail than they got love mail. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they depicted things like, a kid speaking up against his parents, this kid constantly getting into trouble, depression... a man who's going to kill himself, all this stuff. A dad who is like damn near deadbeat, always drunk, being a lout. All this stuff that like people back in the day thought they didn't want, but that's kind of because they were trained to, not really enjoy that stuff. They wanted wholesome, and they saw the show as unwholesome. And it's at a point where, like, The Simpsons nowadays, especially these original seasons, ho-hum, whatever, Bart talks back to his dad.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
The Simpsons is tame by modern standards.
Yeah.
And the goalpost type move, like, talking about, hey, it's got a lot of religious undertones. I mean, today, the minority of people go to church on a regular basis as opposed to...
Yeah.
At least then, maybe it still technically would have been a minority, but it would have been like 45% of people. Now, I mean, it's got to be like low 20s, if not teens.
Yeah, it seems a lot lower.
Percent of the population that would bother going to a church
Yeah,
on a regular basis. It makes sense that, by today's standards, The Simpsons is not budding and edgy.
Just to kind of touch on that a little bit. So my mom is a big part of the Irish Catholic Church where I'm from, and she talks to me a lot about that stuff and says, turnout for people going to the church is extremely low because you get old crowd, and then the boomer crowd, and then nobody else.
Yeah.
So yeah,
who wants to go to church? Don't be crazy.
Yeah, it's true.
Especially when there's only one true Lord and their name is Arceus.
I thought you were going to say J-Tail.
No, Arceus.
Oh. All right, well, I'm not sure who this Arceus is. A Pokemon, I believe?
Yeah.
Oh. Okay, fair enough.
Goodness.
Your Lord and Savior Arceus.
Yes. No, 100%.
Yeah.
But anything else you want to say on the first 2 seasons of The Simpsons?
So, again, season 1, I think, is a little maligned as, like, a bad season. It is, but it's not that bad. There is still some pretty watchable episodes. I mean, we're also talking about the episode, like the season that has, so Birth of General is fine, but there's also the Telltale Head, which is where they cut off the head of Jebediah Springfield. And that, like, is talking to Bart as season 2 is also the first time we get, like, a president talking to the Simpsons, like a dead president. That happens a lot, at least once a season.
Which
I think.
President is it?
Thomas Jefferson.
Okay.
And Abe Lincoln.
Oh.
So in Bart Gets an F, he's like trying to call on like the founding fathers to give him strength because he has to do a report on the founding fathers. And
Abe Lincoln was not a founding father.
I know. That was a different episode.
Oh,
but
okay.
yeah. But in this episode, so it's during a snow day in July, and he's like, "Please, founding fathers, lend me your strength." And he's like depicting himself at not the Gettysburg Address, the founding of America. And everybody's like, you know, he gets like 2 lines in, and then John Hancock jumps up and yells, "Look, everybody, it's snowing outside in July!" And they all run out, and he's like, "God damn it!" And they're like, "You're gonna fail, Bart," and they run out. Yeah. So there's some like long running stuff like this where like, yeah, dead presidents will pretty much always talk to the Simpsons
and living.
Yeah, Gerald Ford and George W. Bush. Or, sorry, not George W. Bush. George Bush. George H. Bush.
W. Bush. Yeah.
Yeah.
Clinton.
Yep.
Jimmy Carter.
Yeah. Yep.
I assume Obama shows up at some
I believe
point in
Obama does
Simpsons.
show up.
I'd be very surprised if he doesn't.
Yeah, I can't remember when he. I know. I don't think they actually talked to Obama when he was like president.
No, he wouldn't legally be allowed to show up in an official capacity.
Sure. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, though, has been in an episode as he was sitting prime minister.
That's my J-Town.
That's my prime minister. Gotta go on The Simpsons and appeal to those kids who watch The Simpsons, I guess. Yeah.
It's definitely don't watch The Simpsons.
Not anymore. It's definitely more of an adult show, which is kind of weird because like it used to be. It's a whole thing. Anyway, yeah, that's basically season 1 and 2 of The Simpsons. There are a lot of things to like about both seasons. There are a lot of things to not like about both seasons. Season 2 has, like I said, Old Money being the worst one, but he had like Blood Feud, not a great episode. Principal Charming, not great. Both of those are 5s.
Oof. Dead
Pudding Society, 5. Bart vs. Thanksgiving, 5. I can go on.
We got plenty of Simpsons to talk about, so
it's true.
That'll be fine. Well then, why don't you tell people where to find us?
You can go to and find us on Twitter. I'm not calling it X. Fuck off.
No
Elon.
one's calling it X. He's lost that fight.
Yeah, pretty much. Just like he would lose that fight between him and Zuckerberg. Yeah, get him, Zucky! Get him! They're going to fight.
They both die.
Yeah, me too, actually. But I know that Zuckerberg actually does a train, like he trains, so, you know. Although he does have mad I know the katana energy. So,
yeah.
But I know he actually boxes. Yeah. Anyway, go to Twitter, which is at EIFNAR. Go there and listen and like tell us how much you love The Simpsons. Send us your favorite Simpsons quotes, which I have gone on record in the past saying that it's the lowest common denominator comedy you can possibly give us. At this point, I'll accept it because, hey, that's engagement, I guess. At least in the tweet zone. Go to our Spotify, iTunes pages, like and subscribe on the YouTube thingy, and like, you know, enjoy your show and just maybe toss this towards your friends. Maybe they'd like it, huh? Maybe they want to hear all about The Simpsons because they have never seen the glory that is The Simpsons season 1 and 2.
Never heard of them.
Even though definitely
no Roly Poly Oly.
It's not as good as Roly Poly Oly, I gotta say. Even I will say that. Roly Poly Oly is the better of the two shows.
Mm-hmm.
This is why it only lasted until 2004. Also, go to our friend's site, djdane.com. That's the guy that does our music, DJ Dane. Go there, listen to his great tunes, and, you know, maybe, just maybe, you know, maybe making the head of safety at a nuclear power plant.
He is not qualified for that at all.
Hey. At least from what I've seen of the depiction of the the console that Homer works at, it looks a lot like a DJ's like console. So
I don't think those skills are transferable.
I think it's transferable. I don't know, man. Homer has no education.
Poorly.
Homer has no education in nuclear power plant related skills. So
that's a problem.
It is a problem. Good old Project Bootstrap. Mentioned by name in the show. Anyway, that's it for our show. Tune in next time for another Friends episode of Everything is Fine, Nothing is Ruined. See ya.
Say it.